Well, we were together, weren't we, a few days ago, watching Al Hilal and Al Akli and that 0-0 draw, as we see that shout against Mohamed Simakan again. I imagine that Sergio Conceição might have one or two more things to say about that post-match.
Yeah, I would think so. All the players straight away asking the question, and I suppose the debate is, has it actually hit the hand? I think for me that the arm is in an unnatural position, but obviously the VAR and the referees see a lot more angles than we do, and I can see merits for both sides of it. I will be honest, it wasn't one that caught my eye straight away in play.
The reason I mentioned that Al Hilal Al Akli game is because that match had a very different feel about it in terms of intensity to what we have seen so far from these two.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think it was quite a nervous game with both teams maybe not wanting to lose, whereas this is completely different. The tempo, there's less trepidation. Both teams are very much wanting to win, are happy to leave themselves open in terms of that risk and reward, risking leaving themselves a little bit open for the reward of scoring goals. And certainly so far, from a perspective of watching, it's made for a better game.
Mane takes down the free kick. Simakan is in there. Has powered that right at Fabinho. Win by Joao Felix, on to Coman. Felix joining in, leaving it for Mane. Mane teeing it up for Angelo, who's going the long way around, and there again, as he has been a lot actually in the first 19 minutes, the Al Ittihad captain Fabinho.
I think it's a shame that didn't fall for Angelo. There wasn't enough on it where Mane could have let that run so he can come onto it and strike it first time, and it just upsets the rhythm a little bit.
Joao Felix, that was on target, albeit right at Rajkovic.
Hits it ever so well. Starts to dip, and you're thinking for a moment, is that destined for the top right-hand corner? But Rajkovic well behind that. It's a good line, isn't it? That good defensive line from Al Nassr.
Joao Felix combining again. Mane can't quite get anything on it, but then he had another chance, and Mitai recovering. And I think he's won the free kick as well, because Mane, in his attempts to get to the ball, has ended up kicking the boot of the Albanian.
There's so many good moments for Al Nassr in and around the edge of the box, and you're right, Mane's just a little bit late there. Gives the foul away. Nothing malice in it, that's just about trying to get to the ball and score a goal. But little instances where Al Nassr in and around the edge of the box, playing the ball on 1 and 2, touching it, looks really good, but at the last vital moment, that final ball just isn't quite there yet.
Well, we saw Al Hilal score 6 last night at Al Oqdoud, including that hat-trick for the former Al Ittihad forward, Karim Benzema. And Al Akli 2-0 winners against Al Hazem, so they temporarily at least have gone above Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League table, by courtesy of going first in match week 21, and Al Ittihad have also dropped down the table because of Al Ettifaq's win today against Damak. They beat the strugglers by 2-0, and Neom SC 1-0 winners against Al Riyadh earlier today too. Bari slaloming away from the tackle. And they're hopeful of a free kick. Fabinho's certainly going to get one. Joao Felix is just hoping that a yellow card isn't about to appear from the referee's pocket.
Yeah, he's trying to walk away as quickly as possible. That's one of the old tricks most footballers use, trying not to get in too much trouble, but in that conversation with the referee, see there, that is a real forwards challenge, nowhere near the ball, and goes knee to knee with Fabinho.
You're speaking from experience?
Very much so. Really interesting as well, how Brozovic is out of possession, almost going high into a front three at times with Mane and Felix, just to try and dispossess ITTIHAD.
Yeah, predominantly we've seen him in a deeper role, haven't we, since he arrived in the Saudi Pro League. But a player that does have a bit of attacking intent in his belly.
Yeah, and you're right, he's probably been used more as a defensive midfielder because he's also got that bite in the tackle and has a very good awareness of being in the right place at the right time, but it's not always looked at in terms of that attacking threat, but it's being used to good effect so far tonight, because actually to have that awareness, try and win the ball higher up the pitch, that's certainly more dangerous, and we've seen it work so far for Al Nassr.
He's missed the last couple of games, Marcelo Brozovic, because of injury. Fabinho trying to slide it through. Haven't seen too much of the new boy, have we yet, Youssef En-Nesyri? Well, Shankiti is threatening to give him the ball, and instead it's gone to Doumbia. Aouar, that's a clever turn. Diaby. Aouar gets the throw.
Glad to have a few moments, actually, ITTIHAD on Nassr half, because for the last 5 or 7 minutes, overwhelmingly, it's been about Al Nassr going on the attack, and they've not had much respite from that.
Two very quick jumps there from Sadio Mane. Did well to get up the second time as high as he did.
I think his work rate and his energy is absolutely phenomenal. And it's just that clever little turn by Aouar, using the outside of his left foot, spinning it around Coman.
Scored the winner in the King's Cup here in October with some Aouar, and of course a stoppage time winner in the league game between these two last season, which finished Al Nassr 2, ITTIHAD 3. So he has a bit of history. Nicely done by Al-Khaibari. This is Al-Ghanam for Coman. Good height for Joao Felix. Brozovic has now got it under control for Al Nassr. Coman has stayed in that wide area, feeding it for Al-Ghanam, who runs out of room.
Get the idea, the little disguised ball down the side was a good idea. It's just the quality on the pass was missing, and again it's Al Nassr getting themselves into really good areas, but just not having the quality needed in the vital moments.
Over to meet it. It's just a bit far wide of En-Nesyri, the Moroccan. Coman is going to have a tussle on his hands with ITTIHAD tonight, because he is a very strong defender, and right on cue takes the ball away from him.
Yeah, and you see how frustrated Coman is as well. I don't know whether he thinks it's a foul. It certainly was, and he just gets out-muscled.
Diaby, not enough height on the ball for Nassr. Field by Al-Khaibari. Coman wrestling with Kadesh, and Mane with Danilo pulled into a wide area.
Danilo does ever so well there, you know, because Kadesh is too bothered initially about fighting with Coman, and Coman runs off his back shoulder and gets himself in a real good position.
Martinez lofting it forward for Joao Felix. Jalaidan, not sure the ball was there for him to win, and that is why the yellow card is out of the pocket of the Slovenian official. First booking of the night for the Al Ittihad right back.
Ridiculous. It's an absolutely ridiculous challenge. There's no way that he needs to dive in the way that he does with that ferocity. Yes, Joao Felix is in a good position. Does he get some of the ball? Yeah, but it's after he's gone through Felix, and that's the problem. Use the pitch to your advantage. Talk about your pitch geography, the touchline, the byline. You can almost use them as an extra defender. Does not have to dive in the way he does.
Maybe feeling like he wants to prove himself on the stage tonight, Al Jalaidan. It is only his 5th league start of the season.
I do think there's an element of that. You saw it's almost like his eyes lit up because he wanted to make that big challenge that teammates love and fans alike, and he was waiting for that big roar, but he gets it completely wrong and it doesn't come.
Well, now, having seen yellow, they're going to have to deal with a lot of yellow inside their penalty area here. Al Ittihad. Joao Felix, whose assists have come in very handy for Al Nassr in their past couple of games. The half-hour mark tonight in the Saudi capital. Joao Felix Rajkovic on the stretch. Met it firmly.
It's a good whip ball in terms of the pace, but direction just very much too close to Rajkovic.
His 2nd season with the club now, Pedrick Rajkovic missed some hefty portions of his 1st season because of injury. The threat is coming from the opposite side. The long throw from Al Ghanam. Danilo leaping above Simakan. Back it goes to Angelo. Another who scored in that King's Cup game here between these two in October. Al Jalaidan, heavy touch. Ploughs through the challenge of Brozovic.
See how frustrated Brozovic is there, because he gets to the ball without making the foul. He's so frustrated that the ball ricochets back off.
And here he is much further up the pitch, Al Jalaidan for Al Ittihad. Martinez away, Fabinho collects, this is Doumbia. Al Jalaidan. Al Shinkiti. It's not necessarily the player that perhaps they'd want to pick out in a moment like that.
No, and I think it's really awkward. It's an out-swinging ball. Aouar is coming away from the goal to try and meet that. You see, he reshuffles himself. He has to come away, and that means that he can't generate any power. And sort of 12 yards out to beat a goalkeeper from there with a head is always going to be difficult.
Could potentially be a tough nut to crack for Al Ittihad tonight, this Al Nassr defence. They haven't conceded a Saudi Pro League goal in more than 5 hours of football now. Last player to score against Al Nassr was Jamal Harkas of Damak in Al Nassr's 2-1 win there last month.
I think they look relatively comfortable at the minute. You can only think that it's going to be a mistake maybe that gives Al Ittihad a goal, because at the moment Al Nassr seem to be very much in control of the game, with obviously without winning rather as yet.
Martinez, who's been used in the left-back role by Al Nassr tonight. There can't be too many times in his career that he's played in that position. Awkward bounce for Al Ghanam.
It is awkward, but he needs to come and meet that ball. Waiting for the ball to come to you is one of those things that really frustrates managers, and it will frustrate that man for sure.
If only Jorge Jesus would show his frustration once in a while. Might see some here. That was disappointing all round for Al Nassr. Well, the one thing you would say about the Al Nassr fans tonight, just in terms of the way they're behaving, the body language, that they feel unified. There is a whatever that belief is very much there, and they're all on that wave.
Yeah, I think so, and it always helps when your team's playing well. I know they're not winning, but for me, they've been the dominant force in this game so far. Look, the team more likely to score, so it certainly always helps. If they were losing or not playing so well, maybe that atmosphere might change a little.
Ghanam's got a bit of space here, and he's created that space himself. Fabinho blocks it, and then does well to get the throw out of Coman.
I mean, how many times do we normally say that about Fabinho in terms of blocking balls, making tackles, being in the right place at the right time? It's something that just seems to be innate within him.
And of course, with Karim Benzema having exited, he is now wearing the armband for the third game in a row. Dumbia. Powerful run from the Al Ittihad midfielder. And Nassr, not deliberately, but has left it for Diaby, who hit it beautifully, and Auer on the follow-up. Can't convert.
Well, initially, I think this is wonderful from Dumbia. And he picks a good pass as well. I know Diaby can strike a ball, and as well, it dips just in front of Bento, actually. So the fact that he makes the save, it's good, because it's an awkward one. Ideally, do you want your goalkeeper to parry out centrally? No, absolutely not. But at least he made the save at the first time of asking.
Those Al Ittihad supporters thought for a moment they had the breakthrough. They are certainly adding to the colour and the experience tonight. Diaby's returned the corner to Dumbia, who is shifting for room, but showed too much of it to Felix.
I think, actually, Felix takes up a good position there in the way they come out from the corner. Al Nassr, they're all coming out as a unit. We've seen that defensive unit work well so far, holding a good line, so they're certainly all in sync.
Simakan quicker to it than Nassr was, but it's Kadesh and Danilo combining to help Al Ittihad out, and then the foul given away by Martinez.
He's not happy, but the first time they win the ball back from Simakan Al Nassr, they've been so clever at this for most of the game, and then driving forward. See that Martinez he's saying he's frustrated, but he doesn't get anything of the ball, let's put it that way.
Not missed a minute, Inigo Martinez, since mid-September for Al Nassr in the league. Jalaidan wanted the 1-2 from Al Shinkiti, and Nassr is going to be a nuisance to Simakan. Here's Dumbia, who is a bit of an influence in this game for Al Ittihad. He's won the free kick.
Yeah, increasingly so. He's got a lovely first touch. It allows him to sort of wriggle in and out of spaces you might not expect, and you see it's just a tug back by Brozovic on the left arm there.
Sergio Conceição perhaps irritated by the number of fouls that Al Nassr are making, or maybe certain members of the Al Nassr party are making. It gives it back to Houssem Aouar, whose cross evades all.
It's a lost opportunity, isn't it? Fabinho is a little bit frustrated. They're coming back into the game again. A lot of the momentum was with Al Nassr, but I think that shot from Diaby especially has maybe just brightened Al Ittihad up again.
Not one away from home since their 4-0 victory at Al Khaloud on match week 14. Al Ittihad. So that is 3 without a win on their travels after the draws at Damak and Al Fateh. The defeat between those away at Al Qadisiyah. Ghanem wants a bit of movement. He's saying, who's going to have this from me? The answer is Koeman. Koeman has Mitai attached to his back, so that wasn't going to work. Simakan conceding the foul.
Obvious Simakan in terms of hands round Nassr.
Hasn't posed too much of a problem to that Al Nassr defence so far, Youssef En-Nesyri. 8 goals this season in Turkey, had a brilliant campaign last season as Danilo, under a bit of pressure from Mane, and him and Fabinho get it away between the two of them. Angelo down, remember he's on a booking, but he got that tackle right on Angelo.
Yeah, he had to, but going back to En-Nesyri, I think he struggled in terms of the lack of service he's had so far. Yes, as a centre-forward, there's an element on you to impose yourself on the game, but it's been a tough one so far, especially when you debut and you're trying to impress. You need a little bit of help from your teammates.
The trouble is, they aren't just boots, are they, of Benzema? They are big boots. They're about as big as the boots come.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's an element of you need to stay true to yourself as well, but there's no doubt in the back of your mind you know that you're replacing a legend of the game.
Alex, that's a clever ball. Brozovic, deflection. Rajkovic reacts to that. This is Koeman. Brozovic again. Koeman has stayed down. Angelo, Joao Felix, speedy turn. Fabinho, did he catch him? No, says the referee. It's a corner.
Referee needs to get control of this one quickly. Simakan especially is particularly unhappy. By the way, Mujaledan takes a little bit of a risk there because he tugs the shirt of Brozovic, but he lets go just in time and managed to recycle it. Nassr. There's a little bit of movement, drop the shoulder, you're thinking, is he going to hit it? I'll tell you what, I'm not sure from that angle. This will give us a better one. How much of the ball Fabinho actually gets? And the answer there is not a lot.
And that's been kind, I think. Maybe you understand the Al Nassr frustration, having seen the replays, but obviously Slavko Vincic was dealing with it in real time and only real time. So, Simakan is being what I think is generally described as a nuisance in there. Clearly he could be the genuine presence for Al Nassr from this Joao Felix corner. Moving towards half-time, locked at 0-0. In it comes from Felix, and it's clawed away by Rajkovic, hit by Al-Khaibari. Brozovic isn't going to be able to do any more with that.
And again, he's ever so frustrated, Brozovic, because that's the second time where the ball's ricocheted off him and there's not too much he can do about it. And Rajkovic is really well there. Good length of the punch on the ball.
Be relatively pleased, will he, with the first half, Sergio Conceição?
I think so, on balance, in terms of we've spoken about what they're missing, how now this side has to change and adapt. And the fact that, although they've been under a lot of pressure, they've kept a clean sheet so far and also shown moments of attacking intent themselves. So, in essence, he will probably be the happier of the two managers, to be honest.
Angelo. A run with some hunger. And the corner one out of outer Leiden. Really come into his own in the team this season, Angelo, for Al Nassr. So are they going to make one of these set pieces count Jorge Jesus' team before half-time? Another one bent in by Joao Felix, and the referee's whistle goes before anyone makes contact with the ball. There's a fair bit of contact going on inside that 6-yard box.
Yeah, there's it potentially there. And the goalkeeper could be one. Looks like that's the most likely culprit.
So as it stands, Al Nassr are going back up to second, but they'll be level on points with Al Ahly just behind them, and 3 behind the leaders Al Hilal. Giving it back to Angelo. Another corner, this time off the shins of Danilo.
Comes out quickly there. Danilo makes the decision quickly and gets himself in a really good position to make the block.
They are racking these corners up though, aren't they?
Yeah, and they'll be frustrated actually that they've not made more of at least one of them.
Got 2 extra minutes to do something at the end of the first half. Still a bubble of noise. Rajkovic, as per, punching away the Joao Felix delivery.
And I think that's something that very potentially needs to change. A lot of the ones that have gone on top of Rajkovic, he's quite happily dealt with, so there needs to be a change in tact, I think.
Does eventually give the free kick, the referee. Just paused to see how that was going to play out. Martinez, the offender, for the arm across the face of Auer.
Yeah, you can see he knows exactly what he's doing in that case. Interested to know actually why the referee maybe let it play on as much as he did.
None of the games so far that have taken place in the Saudi Pro League in match week 21 have both teams scored. Have 5 matches already and 5 wins without their opponents getting on the score sheet, and we haven't had either team in the first half find a breakthrough here at Al Awal Park. But Al Nassr, the ones threatening right before half-time. Angelo, another corner Another piece of defending required from Al Jalaidan.
Yeah, and he does well. Angelo there probably knows in himself. He probably could have whipped that one in quicker, doesn't need to take the extra touch, just try and drive that in behind that ITTIHAD back line.
It's a short one for Brozovic. It's a good job that Moussa Diaby was alert to that.
Yeah, obviously didn't work, but I don't mind the thought process, because as I say, those ones that keep going on top of the goalkeeper don't seem to be working.
And they're going to try it again, Al Nassr. Angelo goes back to Joao Felix, a different angle this time. Angelo, Brozovic, has he kept himself on side? I think he has. Mane's got a bit of time. Sadio Mane has a big old lash at it. And the last lash of the half as well. No goals at the break between Al Nassr and Al Ittihad.
And he does well, Brozovic, holds his line. You think Mane's going to try and bend it in the corner there, takes it with his left foot and completely mishits it.
And a bit of frustration, I think, rippling around Al Awal Park at the break. No Cristiano Ronaldo tonight. And as it stands, no breakthrough between title-chasing Al Nassr and the reigning champions, Al Ittihad. Half-time in Riyadh. It is Al Nassr 0, Al Ittihad 0.
Ahari, 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 ahari.
Koeman thought he had a free run there on Rajkovic's goal.
Oh, when the ball comes over to him, I'm thinking, can he touch that inside first time? He doesn't, takes the touch. The argument there will be, although he gets a bit of the ball, he comes through the back of Mita on the follow through to get it, and that's, you can see both sides of that. The defender feels the contact, but Koeman feels he gets to the ball first, but I think in that situation, the defender will always get the benefit of the doubt.
I think the Al Nassr fans know that their team need a bit of vocal encouragement here, because the noise levels from the home supporters have gone up in the last minute. Danilo there to go back to Rajkovic. In terms of what the month looks like for these two, February actually even busier than January, which is really going to stretch the demands for these sides. This is the second game of 8 for both in February, as they've each, of course, got continental competitions on the agenda as well. Al Nassr in the Champions League 2. Al Ittihad, of course, being the champions of Saudi Arabia in Champions League Elite.
I suppose when you look at Al Ittihad as well with those departures, it's not necessarily as well just them as players, but then that depth that you take out of the squad, and when you're then thinking about multiple games in quick succession, that will play its part, there's no doubt.
Diaby running at Martinez. Alger lay down, that's a better ball. Al Amri was the one who got the initial touch on it before the clearance from Al Ghanam. This is Aour doubling up on him. And that's freed up some space for Mitai here. Doumbia, that's excellent. Doumbia cracks it, Bento had it covered. But it was travelling.
It was, and he scrambles for a minute, Bento, but then, as all good goalkeepers too, he gets his angles and he realises it's going wide of the post, but this was flying. Luckily for Bento, it's flying the wrong side, or the right side in this perspective of his right-hand post.
One of those players that feels like he's got a lot of potential to grow, Mahamadou Doumbia. He's only 21 years old, the Malian international.
I've liked him, you know, watching him today. He's shown some real nice bits of skill and endeavour. Even though he's relatively tall, he's... It's an awful foul, by the way.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of there. I mean, there's a yellow card immediately out of the pocket here for Ahmed Al Ghamdi, but this was quite high on Simikan.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see the replay, but it wouldn't surprise me if VAR are checking that one.
Well, let us see how high that was from the Al Ittihad substitute, who's hurt himself.
Oof. Wow. I think he's really fortunate because he doesn't make that much contact. The way that he goes in, I think if he does make contact with Simikan, the way that he goes in with studs up and quite high, it looked to have been high on the shin, and I think he grazes the shin, and that's what will save him. It's a grazing contact, but if he makes contact with Simikan there, it could well be a leg breaker. It's an awful challenge.
And Mohamed Simikan, who got an Al Khaloud player sent off a couple of games ago for, I think, what some felt was a debatable decision. That was Hatem Behebri who saw red, and it is just a yellow for Al Ghamdi.
And I do think that's right. The referee's got that spot on and at first time of asking, which when you know the game is being played at the pace that it is, that's no easy task. But that challenge could have ended very differently.
Simikan is still carrying a bit of a hobble. purely from an attacking perspective, have they missed Cristiano Ronaldo tonight, Al Nassr?
Of course, of course. He is an incredible goal scorer, and there's elements of his game that might have slowed down, but he still knows where the back of the net is.
Joao Felix curling it in the direction of Mane. It was an easy one for Danilo to stop. Simakam first to that ball again ahead of Nassr. This is Brozovic for Mane. Now Angelo. All the yellow and blue flags are out for extra encouragement for Al Nassr. Joao Felix. Brozovic tried the back heel there. Rajkovic has got a way out.
Yeah, going back to that point, look, Sadio Mane is a wonderful forward, but for me, that's what he is. He's a wide forward. He's not necessarily a central striker, and of course, he will score you goals, but it's very much hard to replace Cristiano Ronaldo.
This is Aouar carrying it forward. Diaby beats Martinez for pace. And Nassr is going to leave it for a corner.
Coman actually does ever so well there in terms of keeping his arms out of the way. Just make sure that keeps him close to his body to make sure he doesn't give away a penalty.
Super display inside Al Ahly Park. They'll want to keep the flags down to see what happens from the corner, I think. Bento is there, not enough on it. Coman carries it, and look at all the numbers flooding forward here for Al Nassr. This is Mane, he has options, he's up against Mitai, and Danilo gets across his path legally.
The thing is there with Mane, he takes too long. I think that might well be a foul, but his problem is he hesitates too much there.
And at one stage, the numbers were in Al Nassr's favour for that attack.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Angelo, by the way, was in a real good position. And I think it's poor from Mane that he's got a lack of awareness of what's around him.
Mitai is going to be penalised for that. That was a bit unnecessary from the Al Ittihad left-back. Well, Knight's the clear message, the Knights of Najd, but the Knight for Al Nassr is beginning to get away from them.
Yeah, and I think in those moments where they've gone forward, the one we just saw, the counter-attack, on other occasions in this game, they've missed that goal threat of Ronaldo, there's no doubt, and just when you need that bit of composure on the final ball, it's been lacking, even though they've got themselves to some really good positions, Al Nassr.
Joao Felix, a lot of curl and pace on it. Al-Kabari. They restart it with El Amri. Over comes the lively Al Jalay down to prevent that.
You know what they're really missing, Al Nassr, especially with the amount of set pieces they've had, is that aerial threat. I think that's something they've really missed tonight.
Three points behind the leaders, Al Hilal, as it stands, Al Nassr. Joao Felix being forced backwards, but forcing the pass to Al Amri, who has a go, and dare I say it, an effort that belongs to a centre-half.
You see there, all the Al Ittihad defenders are clapping because they know Al Amri having that type of effort, they've done their job, they've made it difficult, they've got into a very good defensive shape, which then has made Al Nassr take a chance that they didn't really want to take.
He won the title, actually, with Al Ittihad on loan last season from Al Nassr, Al Amri. So maybe all those days on the training field with him, they perhaps anticipated what he might and might not have been able to do from a range like that.
Maybe so. And just think now it's getting to the point where, I wouldn't say it's desperate, but that is the sort of thing that, you know, we see from Al Amri there, where you may be beginning to run out of ideas and you're waiting for a moment of brilliance rather than sticking to the principle and the process of how you're going to win the game.
Took slightly too long on it. Mane won it back, and Mane's now got it again for Al Nassr. Joao Felix in the middle, Coman in there too, Brozovic into Joao Felix, and even though he lunged with intent, he couldn't quite get there, the Portuguese.
It's a great ball from Brozovic, it really is, so inviting. Especially so that the defenders know almost that they can't go for it either, because the risk is that they go and put it in the back of the net. And he's not far away at all. Joao Felix is stretching everything. I don't think he can probably leave any earlier because he'll be offside, and it's just a matter of being quite unfortunate.
The sort of luck that evades you when you haven't scored in 8 games in the Saudi Pro League, as is the case for him.
There again though, 4 on target for Al Nassr, dominating those big moments without scoring. All the stats in the world don't matter unless you put the ball in the back of the net.
And for both of these teams last time out, just the 1 goal was enough. 1-0 for Al Nassr against Al Riyadh, 1-0 for Al Ittihad against Al Najma.
Great run there, just peeled off. Danilo was running across the line, making sure he kept himself on side and could have slipped it down the side of Kadesh, but chose not to.
I think it does help Al Ittihad that they have this regular structure now with Kadesh and Danilo at the heart of their defence. But they're open now, and Danilo's having to come across to get to Al Ghanam, who's overcooked the delivery. Al Jalaidan can heave it upfield for Al Ittihad.
It's a shame the ball wasn't better, because that's exactly what Al Nassr wanted there in terms of the defender coming over to open it up centrally. Just had to find a better ball, because there were 2 in the middle for Al Nassr.
He's just feeling his hamstring there, Al Jalaidan, which is a bit of a problem now because he's got Angelo going at him. Kadesh pokes it away, but away as far as Brozovic. Joao Felix. And up and over the top from Kingsley Coman via a deflection.
Again, we're showing those nice moments where Al Nassr, in and around the edge of the box, they look great on the 1 and 2 touch. Then as soon as they sort of get into the box, they almost run out of ideas.
And I think from the possibility of it being a hamstring problem to the certainty for Ahmed Al Jalaidan.
You can see there how he's clutching it. It looked to be sort of on the rise as he jumped for the ball. He's felt it, and it's his night over.
And further complicated, of course, by the fact they took off their other regular right-back, Mohamed Al-Shankiti, at half-time.
I must admit, I was really surprised whether he was injured as well, and it's something that we sort of didn't know about, but I'd be very, very surprised if it was tactical to bring Al-Shankiti off, because he was actually playing quite well and just seemed like quite an odd decision.
So I think it is going to be Mohamed Benawi here. And if indeed it is only going to be his 2nd Saudi Pro League appearance. So this is quite a stage to be coming into for him tonight.
Yeah, big moments. Sometimes it's a bit of fight or flight in these moments, and just hoping as a footballer coming into this situation that you can fly.
Well, he's grounded because of that hamstring problem. So off goes Al Jalaidan. And indeed, it is going to be the 20-year-old Benawi a Saudi under-23 international who made his debut in the 4-4 draw between Al Ittihad and Al Khalij, but that was back in November. And at the start of February, more minutes, and very big minutes for Al Ittihad, given the stage, the setting, the opponents.
Yeah, it's huge, and I think from an Al Nassr perspective, it sounds bad to say, but this is where you experience players. You think, right, this is a player with lacking experience. You need to really play on him and see what he's made of.
And they're getting on with it quickly as well, Al Nassr. And the pass from Angelo is too heavy for Brozovic.
It's a shame, because it's the right ball. There's a little bit of disguise on it. I think everyone maybe thinks that the big cross is going into the box. The thought process is spot on, but the execution was poor yet again.
Touches from Nassr. That's something we know he can do. We've seen that previously from the Moroccan. We haven't seen it too much tonight. Good depth on the pass. How can Al-Khaibari.
As this game goes on, Brozovic is getting more and more frustrated. You can see in his body language.
Coleman spinning, and Dabir just dropping almost to one knee to prevent the pass from happening. There's the debutant Banawi with his first touch up towards Nassr, Bento and Simakan just for a moment.
A sharp intake of breath, wasn't there? You just didn't know whether they'd seen each other, and luckily Bento took control of the situation.
I mean, you'd really hope they'd see each other. Simakan being 6'5" and Bento wearing the brightest colours of anyone in the stadium tonight.
You would think so, but why they needed to be so close in that moment, who knows?
Mane hasn't timed his run right. Offside flag against him.
He tries his best initially, doesn't he? But coming across the line, goes a fraction early.
Scored in the win in Jeddah for Al Nassr back in September against Al Ittihad. Scored in the Super Cup semi-final when these two got together initially, right at the beginning of the campaign. Struggling to think of a genuine chance he's had tonight, Sadio Mane.
Yeah, he's done a lot of work, actually, specifically in wide areas. That's what I'm talking about. He's not an out-and-out number 9 centre-forward, so as good as sometimes that work is for the team, you then end up diluting yourself and not giving a presence in the middle of the pitch, and that's been missing at times.
Ayman Yahya is waiting to come on for Al Nassr, so that's what I assume is going to be an attacking change from Jorge Jesus. And I say that with some trepidation, because Yahya's been used as a left-back quite a lot by Al Nassr this season. But it is Al-Khaibari, who certainly is more defensively minded of the two of them, if indeed Yahya's going to play in that central midfield position.
Yeah, and I think you're right in terms of Jorge Jesus. Looking at the time now, 14 minutes left plus whatever's added, and he knows he has to stick or twist. I don't think a draw's good enough at this moment in time for Al Nassr, and I think in the back of his mind he knows that as well.
Quickly taken throw. Mane across, Coman there. Mitai, brilliant piece of defending from the Al Ittihad man.
Absolutely brilliant. I don't think Coman was aware either that Mitai was there. I think he's just sort of expecting to put that in the back of the net. He can already see the celebrations in the back of the mind, but Mitai had other ideas.
And that is why he is such an integral member of this Al Ittihad defence when he's fit, the Albanian. That has been a bit of a problem for him this season at times, staying fit. Ghanam has kept himself onside. Mitai lost it. Then got himself ahead of Al Ghanam, and then he's given it to Kingsley Coman. And there's Mane, and there's his chance. And he can't take that one.
Well, Mitai gets himself in all sorts of trouble. Looked like he'd rectified the situation there and gets caught out. Mane should do better with this, for sure. Is it a little bit awkward? Does it bounce in front of his feet? Yes, but when you've got the amount of quality and goals that he scored underneath his belt, he should be at least hitting the target with that one.
And no sooner had I given Al Ittihad's Albanian defender some praise, he made a horrible mistake.
Very much the commentator's curse on that one.
Mario me tied up in knots. Final 10 approaching in Riyadh. Al-Amri offering the energy. And he's continued his run into the box as well. Coman trying to get it back to him, and Joao Felix was arriving late.
Exactly the right idea by Coman, just trying to put it back into an area, and he's just hoping a teammate's on the end of it, but he's an Al-Ittihad defender in the end.
Just looking more and more isolated now, isn't he, Youssef En-Nesyri, in that Al-Ittihad forward line?
Yeah, he really is, and Nassr now really turning the screw, looking to find a goal and all 3 points.
Gap has been found again by Mane, swept away by Kadesh. Mane for Yaya. Angelo, a change of direction and a pass for Mane that is ever so slightly overweighted.
Similar, Angelo, to the type of ball he wanted to play into Brozovic earlier, and overhit that one as well. He's so good on the ball, Angelo, and I think he almost loses a little bit of concentration at times because he's got that low centre of gravity, is really light on his feet, and he does the hard bit. He weaves through players, but that last ball at times lets him down.
Well, Jorge Jesus has got a great record against Al Ittihad as a coach. He's won 11 of his 14 matches against them through his career, but there has never been a draw involving any of his sides against them. That might be about to change. It's actually a little more low-key than normal on the touchline tonight, Jorge Jesus.
Yeah, he's normally such a big character and kicks every ball, but yeah, he just seems to be relatively calm. Whether that will stay the case in the last 5 or so minutes, who knows, but maybe, is it a thoughtful change of tact? Oh, that pass changed that.
Yeah, it certainly did. Here's our feeding it for Fabinho, who had a couple of options there in the form of En-Nesyri and Moussa Diaby, and Doumbia cleverly around the corner for Diaby, En-Nesyri in the middle, and it didn't have enough pace on it, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway because the offside flag is up.
Brilliant defending, but again, Doumbia really at the heart of it, and considering his stature and he's quite tall, he's so agile and light on his feet. That reverse ball, absolutely wonderful. Wasn't to know, but very, very good defending from Al-Amri.
Who might have a small issue with his hamstring himself here. That seemed to be the indication. Wasn't quick to get to his feet.
Sort of overstretched and fell awkwardly, didn't he? Went down in stages and maybe tweaked something in doing so.
Ghanam poking it on for the swiftly advancing Coman. Coman, Ayman Yaya, took a while to sit down, then there's a big shout for a penalty. Oh, it is a penalty, Al Nassr. Handball, the decision from the referee. Big call and a big moment in Riyadh.
I'm not sure if Danilo's talked himself into the book, by the way, in this process as well because of his reaction. But It's a really good ball in, actually, by Coman. I thought Yaya should maybe hit that first time, whether it be towards goal or try and put it back into an area. His first touch, in all honesty, let him down. It wasn't great. But then he manages to get the strike on, and we'll see. It will be checked. Yes, it's close proximity.
And they're happy with it.
We'll see why. Close proximity, yes. I can't even say that's an unnatural position, I don't think. But the VAR, I've seen that slightly differently.
And it's really unfortunate for the young Benawi on only his second appearance for Al Ittihad. It was off his elbow.
Yeah, and I think if it hits the hands, I sort of understand, because they're outstretched from the body. And that's Danilo's argument. He's sort of saying, what else can he do? And Danilo needs to be careful, by the way, because he's still chirping at the referee.
One or two of his teammates, I think, are giving wise words to move him away. Well, there will be Al Ittihad frustration, because we had the potential penalty that looked like it might be coming their way in the first half, and the handball against Simakam, which the referee was sent to the screen to review and decided it wasn't a handball offence. And now in that same box, in almost a very similar position, Benawi is penalised. And now Nassr at a pivotal point in the game with a penalty. And in the absence of Cristiano Ronaldo, the responsibility on the shoulders of Sadio Mane, and responsibility that he is happy to take. A late lead for Al Nassr, and a huge boost to their title hopes. Sadio Mane slams in the penalty, and that is a 50th Saudi Pro League goal of Al Nassr's season.
Well, I've said he might not be a centre-forward, and I stick by that, but he knows where the back of the net is. He's a wonderful goal scorer, Mane, and doesn't hesitate here, doesn't flinch, hits it hard and low. Sends the goalkeeper the wrong way, and those big moments, those big pressure moments, stand on the shoulders of big players, and he's took that and dispatched it expertly, Mane.
And he has very much been Al Ittihad's nemesis this season. The third separate game that he has scored against them in the current campaign.
It's really strange as well as a player. You consistently score against teams, you get that feeling, you go into the game thinking, I'm going to do the same today, and it's psychology.
Ronaldo cutting out Coman's pass just as Al Nassr thought they could truly put this game to bed. There's just that confirmation of the early yellow for Danilo for his protest, and there's one out here for Kingsley Coman too.
If it means they end this game with 3 points, Al Nassr, then Coman won't be too bothered about that. He felt that in that moment it was worth stopping that attack.
Just indicated something to the bench there, did he, Kingsley Coman?
I think he might have done. I don't know whether he's maybe come off where. As you see, it's knee to knee there, and he looks a bit suspect, doesn't he? Certainly walking a bit gingerly.
Maybe it was an indication that he needs to depart. There's that QR code on your screen. You can scan that right now with your smartphone. Vote for your man of the match tonight here in Riyadh. Benawi. Al-Amri, just because he wanted to be the one who got the ball, leaping in front of Martinez. Long it goes to Mane, decisively forward it goes to Mane, and Kadesh gets the luck of the bounce.
Just about, but you see now this game's going to open up even more so. There's that opportunity that Mane loves, and he's not had it too much in this game in terms of the long ball over the top that he can run onto.
Brozovic doing what he does best, breaking it up. Joao Felix, Yaya. Yaya looking to get it back to Joao Felix again, and Fabinho, who's just run and run and run all night, has put it away for a throw.
He's in a great position, Yaya, and I think for me, he just needs to roll that to Mane straight away, but great penalty. And what I will say about the decision is we have to think about VAR and what it's there for, and the referee makes a decision and it does hit a hand, so it's probably not a clear and obvious error enough for the VAR to overrule, so I think that's important to mention.
Yeah, I just think Sergio Conceição will reflect afterwards on what happened in the first half, involving the man on the ball right now, Mohamed Simakan.
Yeah, totally agree. And look, in my opinion, and that's what football's about at times, opinions, I think it's a harsh penalty, but I understand why it's been given, and it does hit an arm. So, but you're right, the argument in terms of it looks to have hit Simakan's arm in the first half, and that's where the frustration will lie with Conceição.
So fresh legs arriving on the scene for Al Nassr, and for Al Ittihad a couple of minutes plus stoppage time to try and breach a defence that have not conceded in 6 hours plus of Saudi Pro League football. Simakan enjoyed that tackle on Mitai, I think.
He's one of those defenders that loves to make a tackle, loves those big moments, and loves to defend for his team, and you've got to celebrate that as much as the goals.
Right, we've seen a debutant in the forward line for Al Ittihad tonight. We're about to see a debutant for Al Nassr in their own forward line in Abdullah Al Hamdan, who, with Karim Benzema joining in recent days, determined that the pitch time for him was going to be limited. And Al Nassr needed an extra body, have brought him in, so on he comes. And that's a defender in Kadesh off for Talal Haji, a young forward. Kingsley Coman obviously did have an issue because he's one of those that's gone off here. Al Amri, they're enjoying his performance tonight, the Al Nassr crowd, aren't they?
He's done really well, and sort of his timing, I think, for me to cut out balls has been excellent.
Here's Al Hamdan. He's got it back to Angelo. And rather unnecessary offside, I think, for our Al Nassr perspective.
It's tight, his feet are in line, but unfortunately for him, the rest of his body isn't Angelo the way he's leaning.
So 5 minutes for Jorge Jesus' team to navigate their way through, to take themselves back within a point of Al Hilal at the top. But we know that even without Benzema, without Conte, this is still the champions we are watching, and they will offer something of a threat in these final few minutes.
Yeah, of course, and their foot body forward, because they've got nothing to lose effectively right now. So it's about causing chaos, getting as many bodies as possible high up the pitch. We're trying to conserve the balance, obviously, but you know at this point you're going to have to take some kind of risk.
It's potentially going to be 4 consecutive away games for Al Ittihad where they have failed to win, which will be of a concern to Conceição as Ghanam charges forward and Danilo comes over, imperious as ever.
Yeah, despite, as it stands, being on the losing team, I think he's been excellent tonight.
Nassr and Simakan, that's a good old duel, isn't it? And the foul on Simakan, which will eat up a few more minutes for Al Nassr. What do you think these next few months do look like for Al Ittihad, Courtney? Without Conte, who had 3 years in total in the kingdom, and of course Benzema, reigning Saudi Pro League player of the season. Described, by the way, Al Hilal this week as being the Real Madrid of Asia.
Big words. I don't think that'll probably sit very nicely with Al-Ittihad, but I think for me, I've enjoyed watching him, so hopefully that hole that Conte has left, he fills into, which obviously isn't easy. From a World Cup winner for sure, and I suppose the same with Benzema, but this is life, this is football, it goes on. And I think I said it at the start, but for Al-Ittihad now, for me, they're too far away. They're not going to win anything. So it's about progression, it's about putting the foundations in place to be able to be competitive next season and really try and regain, win back that title that they did so well to win this season. I think as well with, we mentioned it too, a couple of injuries, huge players for them to come back, so it'll be helpful. And then you're looking at your big players as well, the likes of Fabinho and Diaby, and making sure that you keep them for next season. That's important too.
One last chance to muster something here, Al-Ittihad, but where are they going to pull it from? As Simakan, a little unlucky, and Nassr. Simakan takes it back off him. He's won that battle tonight between centre-forward and centre-back.
He also won the battle against his own player, Brozovic there, absolutely clears him out, but I don't mind it, because you take everyone in your way when you're trying to win the ball, and even if it is a teammate.
Joao Felix was leaving that because he was convinced he was going to get the throw, but it's gone Benawi and Al-Ittihad's way instead. Maybe just a ploy from Jorge Jesus to run down the seconds here with the introduction of Ali Al-Hassan. Now he's animated. This is the Jorge Jesus we know.
We've got him back. He went missing for a while, but he's back.
Industrious as ever tonight, Sultan Al Ghanam. And with the responsibility of captaining the team as well in the absence of you-know-who. They know who. Will we see Cristiano Ronaldo back in the Al Nassr team for their next Saudi Pro League game, which is at Al Fateh, by the way, Saturday of next week. But before that, they've got a Champions League 2 game against Arkadag. That's on Wednesday, and if you're wondering where FK Arkadag are based, they are in Turkmenistan, so that's where Al Nassr are off to this week. Al-Ittihad are going to play Al Gharafa in the Champions League Elite on Tuesday, but they've got a few seconds left here, the champions, to try and grab a late point. Rajkovic with the long ball forward, won well by Bouchel, and with so many forward for Al-Ittihad, the gaps are very clear. Angelo, he's got so many up in support. Angelo, he didn't need them. Seals it for Al Nassr. And they are breathing down the necks of Al Hilal again.
Oh, this was inevitable in the sense that, I mentioned it, Al-Ittihad, they had to leave themselves open, they had to take chances. And their counter-attack, the pace of it is absolutely blistering, and Angelo does well. There was a moment where Joao Felix was all alone, and you're thinking, find him, he needs a goal, he really does, but to be fair, I think so does Angelo tonight, because he's got himself in some good positions, and then his final balls let him down, his composure. I think he gets a little bit lucky here. Maybe a slight deflection, the fact that it nutmegs Rajkovic, but it doesn't matter how it goes in the back of the net, just that it does, and the fact that he made that run, hard work that goes into it, he deserved it, and just a little nod to his teammate.
Now, when he scored here in the King's Cup game in October, he was on the wrong end of the outcome. But a goal tonight for the youngster. And eventually it has all gone right for Al Nassr.